What is up, everybody, and welcome in to the DNBA show on the DNVR Nuggets podcast. Doing your own air horns is weird. We are presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. We are Adamless, we are Harrisonless, we are Monitorless, we are D-Line-less.
Thank God.
Let's talk about what I do have with me returning to the show. Superstar Dev.
See, it's okay if those guys are gone and I'm here. But if we're all gone, just you and Hank.
Oh, no, we wouldn't do that.
That would have been rough.
That's never happened before, has it? We've never just done a together thing.
No, we did a bet show together once.
That's right. That's right.
We were talking about luge, and I accidentally said the phrase German dominance, and then I was like, "Oh, we're gonna get canceled."
It was a great show.
Yeah, it went really
It never
well.
happened again, so you guys definitely got canceled.
It's right up there with the day that Dre's cat died.
That's right.
That was surprisingly good show as well.
And from the DNVR Buffs beat Henry Chisholm.
Yeah, just like minimal effort.
Did anyone ever go hard H on you? Like Chisholm?
Like
a coach
all
or
the
something?
time.
Yeah.
You get the hard H, you get the hard L.
Chisholm on the double.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we've got a big show planned today. Obviously, if we got the Buffs guys with me, and Dev is a bit of a Buffs guy himself. Obviously, Dev's just tuned into hoops at every level. So it would be a waste not to talk about Jabari Walker, the draft hopeful. He will be drafted, I'm sure. And we will talk about him, and we will talk about Schwartz, who is a Buffs transfer, who also worked out for the Nuggets. And we've got some news in the RSN world, NESN in the Northeast, with a big development that's particularly relevant to us Nuggets and Avs fans here in Colorado. But before we get into that, fellas, hard-hitting journalism, what did everyone have for breakfast today?
So I went to that Avs game last night, and I drank a little bit before. I drank even more during it. I got home. So I had a big bowl of rice for breakfast to try to work through some of the feelings I'm having.
That's bad.
Yeah.
That's the saddest breakfast I've ever heard.
Yeah. I put a little soy sauce on it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, your tummy is destroyed.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, it's a rough one. I got this big coffee here, too.
You did not set the tone. Most important meal of the day, you ate rice.
I set the tone last night.
That's right.
I broke today yesterday. I'm sure it was a bad day.
Shout out Avalanche.
Yes.
Tomorrow, we'll be back in the bar for another Avs watch party. Make sure you come through. Dev, what'd you have for breakfast today?
I did not eat breakfast today. I did have Chick-fil-A, though.
Ooh.
For lunch. But I'm not really a breakfast guy because I only eat breakfast burritos. That's it.
Me too. I'm the same way.
So, like, I've been trying to stay away from potatoes. So I'm like, no breakfast burritos for me. Good times breakfast burritos, incredible.
What's up with potatoes?
I just don't want the starch and stuff.
Okay. Interesting. Should I stop eating potatoes?
No, not you.
Oh, okay.
Just me.
Okay.
I'm a big breakfast burrito guy. Had one today. Had a smoothie as well. So I feel really, really good. Now that we got that out of the way, chat, I can't see, no monitor, but let us know what you had, obviously. But we've got big regional sports network news. NESN is becoming the first RSN to offer an out-of-the-bundle streaming access. This is straight from NESN to you, the consumer. They're going to have Red Sox and, what's the other team? Will it be Bruins? Yes. Games will be available for streaming, but it's going to cost you. And predictably, this service is expensive. It's only $1 for the first month, but then it's $30 per month thereafter, Henry, just for access to these games. So heading in this direction, direct RSN streams to the consumer, I think we all wanted to see some version of it eventually. Seemed inevitable. Also seemed inevitable that it would be expensive.
Yeah, totally. I don't know that we expected this expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, the easy answer, like when Nuggets fans are saying, why won't Altitude do this? It's like, well, Ivaka is $5 a month cheaper.
That's a good point.
So, like, you already have a better option. And so, like, I always thought that it'd be expensive, but I thought more in, like, that $15 to $20 a month range instead of something where you literally could just get a full-on streaming service instead.
$30, Dev. What's your first reaction? Just the games. This isn't a bundle.
I think that's what makes it extremely difficult is it is only just the games that you'll be paying for. You don't get the ESPN, you don't get the TNT. So now you already take that market out. Like at least that's like what helps when there's cable is that you have the other things. Also, that means that would they not be able to be shown when there's like a blackout? Or would it black it out? blackout if they're on?
Well, you have to be in the area, so you can't be like outside of the local market and sign up for NESN. Like blackout rules would apply.
Yeah. So if their game is on ESPN or TNT per se, would you not be able to watch the game?
Good question. I think that you would probably still be able to watch, but I'm not positive on that.
But
That's a good question,
I mean, it's still, that's a lot of money, and then like you said, Vogt already has that. You know, who already is a proud sponsor. But also, like I don't see how you would be able to just make sense of altitude all the time. Because when the game is not on, now are you even watching that channel? They're going to have to step up on their end, and that's not there's no disrespect to that. I don't even have altitude TV.
Yeah.
But what are they doing throughout the day? You know,
Right.
You're only paying for just those live game services, and why not allow that to be like a subscription-based thing where you're only watching it when it's on, like NBA TV or something like that.
And I do think, Hank, that's part of what, the providers like Comcast, that's part of their position. It's like, it's not like we're throwing you into these bundles and stuff, but people want to watch the broadcast, but not really pay for what's happening on that channel 24/7.
Totally. I mean, so the Pac-12 is in kind of a similar boat with the Pac-12 network. They've had a terrible time getting that on TV anywhere. Like you can't get it on DirecTV, you can't get it most places. I think right now there's like 14.8 million homes with the Pac-12 network compared to, I think it's over 50 million now with the Big Ten network. And so they have all these issues, but the current TV deal runs through the end of the 2023-24 school year. And because of the way that it's written and the deals that they have with Dish and the others, they basically have their hands tied. Like there is nothing they can do. Like they couldn't offer streaming if they wanted to because it's written into these other contracts that you won't just sell it straight to the consumer.
Right.
Otherwise, I mean, obviously that would hurt
Right.
them. So when we talk about altitude, you could totally see a situation where altitude's kind of in that same boat where they would love to do something like that, but they're just under 11 different contracts, pulling them all these different ways that just do not allow you to make a move like this.
And here's the other thing, to the point you were just making, whether it's, explicitly banned in that contract language, or if these straight to consumer streaming, packages are so cheap that it threatens or undermines the cable bundles, they'll just simply be removed from those cable bundles by Comcast. And at which point they're operating off of the profit of a live stream operation, which, while I generally am not sympathetic to the cries of rich businesses and the operating costs of wealthy businesses owned by wealthy people, it is true that that's probably not a sustainable revenue.
Absolutely.
So-
and you got to think about the future contracts, like kind of like you mentioned, but just, are you going to be pushing people to watch Comcast? Because the other thing with the Pac-12 network is, on average, over all of their deals with all of the different distributors, they make about 13 cents per subscriber. Whether it's like through Sling or Dish or whatever, compared to, the Big Ten's at like 52 cents per all of them. So you just see all these different ways you're falling behind. And if Altitude really is just selling what they make direct to people, then Comcast absolutely is going to be saying, we're not giving you as much money for this because, look, we're not even getting people from you anyway.
Right. Yeah, and if you don't have the actual packages with being able to put it in any other way, you're adding that on top of what you already have. You already have Sling, you already have DirecTV, or it would be Comcast or things like that, because you just have to make sense of why you would buy it. And it's for Avs, it's for the Nuggets games. Those are really the only reason that you would do this in the first place. So not having all those other or having all those other streaming services, it's just going to get really expensive, and it's just going to be $30 more. And then there's the streaming option that you could do for free. Like, it's inconvenient, but at least it's, it's free.
I did tail off, though. It finally got me going through this. It allegedly got me. That eventually I was just like, I'm not.
Tired of Xing out.
I'm not closing this shit out over and over and over again.
You.
It was actually the Rockies, where I was just like,
me too.
I'm not going to click out of all these things to watch the Rockies. And I did think it is time for me to just sign up for something, because again, I'm torn two ways. There's literally nothing that shows Pac-12 network and Altitude. It doesn't exist.
Right.
So you gotta get Sling, and I'm going to sign up for Ivaca once I move, but right now I don't want the hassle.
Right.
But it's just really, really frustrating.
I wonder if we are approaching a threshold where it's just going to make more sense to do the cable and internet bundle again.
I know.
And there was a time where you could just pay one person a lot of money. You add phone, internet, cable, and then like every sports channel.
Throw HBO on if you want.
Yeah, man. And it's crazy where it's become so difficult and like fragmented. And so there's almost no like one hub for sports anymore besides, I guess, just the internet. So it's bizarre. Altitude's position on this previously, this is still posted on their website. There is not a regional sports network in the country that provides a direct-to-consumer streaming option. And they cite how expensive it becomes for the consumer, and it's also not raising sufficient revenue for Altitude. So what's the point of providing that option if it's going to be something 30, or probably in Stan Kroenke's case, maybe north of 30? So I do understand that, but it'll be interesting to see if this precedent applies any pressure to them, because that one line, there is not a regional sports network providing this service, that's no longer the case. So it'll be interesting to see how this influences a variety of markets. And for me, fellas, it was a reminder that, you know, I'm so harsh on the Kroenkes for this because it's against a background of general negligence, and that it didn't seem like they had any sort of alternatives or plans in place, and how little we've heard from them about it in now going on 3 years. But you also can't lose sight of the fact it is also true that this issue is not unique to Denver. It's going to continue to happen around the country, and that these providers do have these RSNs in between a rock and a hard place. That is fair to say.
And that's been their strategy. Like, that's what this is all about, is that they want to be able to build Bally Sports and whatever the other one is, and just push out every other regional sports network, which, you know, would be really sad. Like it is nice to have like the diversity of all the different local networks, and they get built their own way. And I personally, like, I enjoy Altitude and the things that they do. It's just tough to feel bad for them and say like, oh yeah, you're the underdog going up against the cable companies to come on. Where it's like, first of all, you're screwing me over in the process, and second of all, you have Walmart money. Like surely there's a way to get through this.
I simply don't believe you that there's not like a path you could take that you could eat. But I do understand there's also this concern of setting precedent. You know, you don't want future negotiation. You can't just cave to every demand of a provider. But do you still feel comfortable applying pressure to the Kroenkes, Dev? I mean, it's like it's not a simple situation, and yet the bottom line is we're 3 years on just almost no progress on this.
I think that as a viewer, you're going to be able to apply pressure all the time, or you should try to apply pressure, because it's not your money, you know, like, and also they have the money. So you're going to always like say you should do this with your money. I think things like this show that there are, you know, different ways to go about it, and things that we didn't even think about, because this is just added out of nowhere. And also, Colorado's not the only place that this is happening. So, you know, they're not the only billionaires that are having to deal with this or not even think about it. Like, I really do think that this is so low on their bar that they're just like, they're going to get over it, and there's going to find different ways to go about it. And also, at the end of the day, it's not on me. So I think that you should apply pressure as a consumer, but also, is it to deaf ears?
You do wonder, like, how long typically is that contract? Like a contract with Comcast or whatever. But if it's a contract and you're literally like, it's been 3 years and you're getting nothing instead of just taking a bad, exactly. Like because it doesn't set a bad precedent. It's like,
but in the meantime, so
get back to that fight later. Take your money.
Speaking of precedent, one of the most talented Avs teams ever assembled, the best Nugget to ever wear a jersey. What kind of precedent does that set?
I know. It's like they have marketing budgets. Like, they're putting signs up saying like, oh, the Nuggets, the Avs. And it's like, well, is put them on freaking TV. Yeah, like that's the where that comes from. The fact you're spending money on a billboard when you could be making money by taking whatever offer. Just like, what the hell?
On a Rams draft commercial on a night when they like don't have any picks, I think. So it's a lot. It's Josh Kroenke if that presser ever does happen. We talk a lot about on this show about our perception of an obligation of an owner to a city beyond just owning and operating a business. I'd like to ask Josh directly, feel any sense of obligation to create a product that becomes something that people of the city and state are proud of, that becomes ingrained into the identity of obligation exists? Do you feel it? And look, ultimately, we're there to talk to him about field questions on this as well. Are you?
I don't know if it could go positive for him, no matter what.
I would no. I'll tell you what. I would like to hear Josh say that there is at least one party in this ownership group who would like to see change.
Yeah, and I think it's how you say it too. Like, I don't know exactly what it is, but convince me that you're actually telling the truth when you say it, because you know that you're going to say like, yeah, we want to be a part of the city. But if you're saying like, yeah, the fact that we're not seeing more people walking around Nuggets jerseys, like it deeply hurts me that we are not seeing that. Like,
right.
Convince me that you're actually upset about this. Show some level of emotion. And it's like, yeah, you're going to get asked these questions when what? It's his first press conference in 5 years?
We think 5. I think official sit down in front of the press. It's been since 2017.
That thing might last an hour.
It better.
Things are backed up.
It better.
It better. By the way, Josh Kroenke still positive, still testing positive for COVID. Team working to reschedule. Not something they can do until he tests negative again. Dev, are you done with the school year? Are you done?
For the most part, yes. Summer school starts tomorrow, but there's no kids right now. And then also the kids that come in for summer school, I mean, they've already ditched their way into summer school. So when they come, they better be ready to work.
Are we going to be getting more? Because we got the chat just, King Dev, that's my inspiration. My boy Dev, haven't seen you since Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, what a great holiday. And those are my people. Those are my people right there. I love them all. And I miss you guys. Even D-Line.
Who's here, actually? He's just working. It's a 3-person set, so I kicked him off.
A lot of clicking going on.
So much clicking. D-Line's office is awesome. It's like you got like 3 empty Jimmy John's cups, like an empty box of Triscuits. It's just what you'd expect. Shout out D-Line. I love that guy.
He does keep it on brand.
What are you feeling for the finals, Dev? I didn't get to talk to you about this. Are you rooting for someone? Do you think someone's going to win?
Yeah, I think that there has to be a winner. I'm leaning.
Who do you think?
He's rooting for a winner.
Who do you think that's going to be?
I'm like, so a lot of me wants to say.
On his part.
A lot of me wants to say the Warriors just because of like the history and also Steph Curry. It's hard to hate him. I like that Boston team like that matches up with them. I think that they match up in a lot of ways. Also, I think that for both teams, defense really does matter. And then also there's the second unit, which I think that they clash like in every single way. I think that I'm not going to say an answer because there's never going to be an answer for Steph Curry, but having Marcus Smart be your best defender,
yeah, that's a good point.
That matters. Like, and that changes a lot of things where you have people that are bought in. So Jason Tatum, that's the one thing that he has done extremely well is he's taken on the defensive ownership. That's where he's progressed the most. Like, he's still going to shoot, 6 for 41 in games and things like that. But on the defensive end, he's going to apply himself. You have a switchable defender there. You don't want to get off of Marcus Smart and have to walk into Jaylen Brown. Like, they have defenders all over. And then you have Al Horford, who's super old, and teams like turn their backs on him, and he's still playing at a very, very high level. You have Derek White on the bench that gets to match up with Jordan Poole. Like, I really do think that Boston team is like on par with Golden State, and they're gonna like challenge them in a lot of ways. So I'm starting to push more towards Boston in this series, which I did not think I was going to do like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks
That's
ago.
the wrong answer. What do you think?
I forgot about that. I'm pulling hard for the Warriors. Washington. I think first of all, I hate the Warriors. Gotta get that out there. But that's just outweighed by so many other things, like the fact that if the Warriors go out there and just sweep the Celtics, like that's all I care about.
That's all you need.
But that's what it comes back to is like it's the team that beat the Nuggets. It's good for the Nuggets if they go through and win. And on top of that. And so it's like if you win another, like, congrats, but it isn't another team that...
Other side of the break, we will get to the headline. We'll talk Jabari Walker, his pro career. Would the Nuggets have any interest? Where will he go in the draft? The whole rundown, the whole thing. But for now, here's what you need to know. Are you ready for the NBA champs to be crowned? As Dev astutely pointed out, someone does have to win, and you can win too with DraftKings Sportsbook. Join the finals action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can make any $5 NBA bet and get $150 in free bets instantly. Looking to turn another smaller bet into a big payday during the NBA finals? Well, with DraftKings same game parlays, you can do just that. Create your own parlay by combining multiple bets. Which team will win? Total threes made, total rebounds, under on Tatum points, and more. Boom, you have a shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code DNVR and make any $5 bet during the NBA Finals. Get $150 in free bets instantly. That's promo code DNVR, only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. And what's the next read, fellas? Lightshade. I love Lightshade. They have all these great products, including Escape Artist, which is the highest awarded topical brand in Colorado. It prioritizes quality and consistency. Ratios available in 1-to-1 and high ratio CBD 20-to-1. The creams penetrate for a deep muscle tissue to address deep muscle tissue discomfort. They're non-greasy, non-staining, and they come to you. Thank you to our friends at Lightshade, Colorado's premier dispenser, which has 11 convenient Denver Metro and Aurora locations, including that Barnum location, the biggest one. It's now open with their biggest supply of selections. And podcast listeners can get 25% off non-sale items with code DNVR. Remember, it's very important that you scream that at them as loud as you can. DNVR. Tell them who sent you. And now I will put Henry Chisholm of the DNVR Buffs podcast in the driver's seat, because we're going to talk about Jabari Walker, the buff who is heading to the NBA. This is really hard without a monitor. I don't know if the graphics up. If the graphics up, it's going to look and sound sick.
Yeah.
If not, I'm just kind of stalling a little bit. There it is, Hank. It's all you. The strength and weaknesses. The rundown on Jabari.
Yeah. So Jabari is he's a forward. Probably plays the 4, but could wind up playing the 3 because he's not that big. Measured in at like 6'6" 3/4 without shoes at the combine. It's like 212 pounds, I think. So like a good, well-built guy. In general, the combine didn't go well for him. We thought he'd be closer to 6'8", for example. The body fat percentage was like 12%, which was 56th out of 61 people there. He was like 2 spots behind David Roddy, which...
Wow.
It's surprising. Like, it's not what you expect from him at all. And then, like, the other testing stuff, like, we didn't want to see him have a 33-inch vertical. Like, that's just not a good number given what he does. And so we'll touch on these strengths. We'll run through these, I guess. The first one that I have on there is the rebounding. I think shot blocking number 2. Yeah, shot blocking number 2. And more so for those two, it's the instincts more than anything else. He's just always around the ball. I think 16 double-doubles this season, which was easily the most in the Pac-12. I think somebody got hot late. It might have been Christian Coloco from Arizona who got up to like 10 double-doubles, but he had doubled the rest of the field for most of the season. Again, the shot blocking, like from the 4, like as a help defender, he can block a bunch of shots. But again, you look back at that 32-inch vertical, like the 6'10" wingspan is good, but in an era where every wing has a wingspan that's like 5 inches better than their height, it really doesn't stand out all that much. So you wonder how much these two things can really translate. The third point there, the 3-point shooting. Shot, I think, better than 50% as a freshman. Had the big game against Georgetown, the tournament, where he's 5 for 5 from 3. This year took a little step back to like 35%, but on quite a few attempts per game. The release is a little bit slow, so you wonder how much that translates. And obviously, like when you add another step back for every shot, the NBA 3-point line, again, there's a question there, but you're easily one of his strengths. We get these weaknesses real quick too.
Well, actually, real quick.
Okay.
I'll throw it to Dev because I know he's tuned in as well. Yeah. Dev, first, do you agree, with these strengths as listed, and then is there one of those in particular that you feel really confident, pops at the next level? Is sort of how he makes his bread.
The thing that pops at the next level and also is clearly a strength is the rebounding. For him to go in at 6'6", in which the idea was that he was a 6'9" guy with a 7-foot wingspan.
Right.
Things like dropped, like the combine was not well, like at all,
Yep.
at all. But for him to rebound at such a high level at 6'6", like those are things that you go on. Like he has all of the physical tools in the world, and also he's the son of an NBA player, so like that played into his part. And now he has to do the rest from there, and he did with the double doubles, with being an all NBA an all Pac-12 first teamer. Those things like stood out. The shooting, it does kind of worry me just because he was such a good, shooter the first year and then took a dip. Yes, on a lot more shots, and yes, because the ball is in his hands a lot more. But you want him to just be a little bit better, a little bit stronger at that, just because you want to have an argument that he could be a small forward, especially if he's not as tall as you once assumed that he was going to be. If he's 6'9" and he's shooting the ball at 35, you're okay. But when you're 6'6", you have to defend other small forwards as well as become a knockdown shooter, a 3-and-D type of guy. And now you made it, and those. That's not nothing you can work on. Like you're your size. So now you really do have to knock the ball down. So the rebounding is what like stands out. He grabs the rebounds. That's that you have to battle for. So like he has an engine. He wants it a lot more. He has the physical tools to get to wherever he wants. So like there is some positives for him, but there's also a lot of cons.
Yeah.
Let's get into those cons.
So first of all, again, just kind of a tweener in general. Like what do you do? You're a power forward who is the size of a small forward.
Right.
There's a way that it works out, but that is pretty easily the most concerning part with Jabari. He's not very polished offensively. Really likes to go to his right hand. Doesn't really have many post moves. He's just a really good athlete.
Right.
He can catch oops and do those sorts of things. But like again, like you just need to get a little bit of that YMCA game. Not a lot, but just some. And then finally, just his body is not developed. Like again, we talked about with the body fat. We're just like that's
concerning.
It is concerning. It is concerning
because he doesn't have he has the frame of a guy who should be on the lower end of that.
Totally, and it's another like we talk about the vertical. A year from now, he probably adds 4 inches to that. Would be my guess, but it just makes you wonder why he's leaving right now. When we're saying like, yeah, just cut down the body fat a little bit, add some muscle, because you are a bit of a tweener. And again, just to talk about where he actually fits, there's kind of 2 roles. Either he plays the 4 and he gets a lot stronger and he gives up a little bit of size, but goes over just fine. And in that case, you probably add some more post moves. Again, the explosion comes and he's more of a cutter, can play the dunker role a little bit. Or he plays the 3, and I think that's the ideal situation, is that you wind up with him playing the 3 and he's quick enough to defend those guys. Again, like has the tools to be a good defender, just isn't quite there yet. He can block a bunch of shots, but he needs to figure that other stuff out. But then also develops the 3-point shot.
Yes, to be the 3.
To be 3-and-D. And so I don't know that he's ever going to be able to guard like the point guards. Like you probably need bigger 2s, and he's so close to being the mold of player that you're looking for in the NBA. He's so close. He just doesn't quite have all those tools put together. So he's definitely a project.
Do you get the sense, Dev, when Hank says, sorry, Hank, he's Henry. We call him Hank sometimes. He's so close to fitting a certain archetype. Do you get the sense that he's aware of this and he's trying to funnel himself into this mold of player?
Absolutely. And his is a lot different because he's not just hearing it from his trainer. He's hearing it from his NBA dad. A dad, like a guy that's been around Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal and guys like that. Like he is in tuned and he is talking to these type of guys. So they're telling him straight up. It's not just, you're the first guy from your town that can do this and you look a lot different. It's a lot different than Bones Highland. Than coming from him. And also what shocks me the most is that he is leaving right now. And they said that he was going to keep his name in. I really didn't expect that. Like when you put your name in, it's to see what it looks like. You just throw your hook in the water and see what happens.
Get a nibble.
And he saw that things didn't go well, so you go back and you get better, or you answer some of those things. Like usually when this happens, there's a promise of some sort. Like you're going to be one of the top 40 guys, especially when you get invited to the combine.
Right.
This is a lot different than a guy that's just like overseas working out, and we're going to see how he looks when he gets here. Like they know who he is, they know what he does.
He's not falling off that radar if he goes
exactly.
back to,
so he really does need a year from that. We get into those cons. He's not a great playmaker.
Yep.
So on top of not being a great playmaker, he's not good in isolation baskets. So you don't pass really well, but also you're not able to just score whenever you want to. And I think that's what the biggest issue was for CU fans was, this is your best guy. This is the guy that you want to have the ball in his hands and good things are going to happen. And that's what they've been getting, especially with McKinley Wright, who, when he gets the ball in his hands, the best thing's going to happen. Right. Granted, he's a guard, but it's your best player. Your best player is supposed to score, and he's going to get the ball a lot of times. And he's not able to score in those island type like events. And then also if he's open, he's not knocking down the shot. So now it's just kind of,
what's your role offensively?
Yeah.
Are you the go-to guy? And now you're about to go and leave when you still have those those questions for you. So that like really stands out for me. As a defender, I just don't feel like he's locked in at all times, and it leads to a lot of fouls. Like there was a lot of times that he's in foul trouble.
That's tough.
For him, because he's just not locked in, or he is like late in trying to get the blocks, or he's like not as quick. And especially now being a wing instead of the forward that I thought he was going to be. You're not going to be able to stay with those guys that are a lot quicker than the forward who are just standing on the post. So,
like he's not getting down to guard twos and stuff, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
and you're going to need that, especially when you're not a
wing,
polished offensive guy. If you're coming off the bench and they need you to just score, now you're not thinking about Jordan Clarkson as a defender. He's a scorer. That's what he's in there to do.
Sure.
So now he's a specialist. He's not going to be able to be that. He's going to have to be a 3-and-D guy at the next level, Jabari is. So I just wish that he had one more year to like just lock in on those things and then just answer those. Like, because I could be wrong.
Sure.
It could be like, hey, I'm a knockdown guy. I'm also a guy that can score like in isolation. I only have 1 year to prove that.
Yeah.
That could be true.
I mean, because he's 19 years old, 20 years old.
Man, so you guys are surprised he's not coming back. It does sound like,
yeah. And I know people at CU are surprised too. Maybe surprised isn't the best word. They don't think it's the correct decision.
It's a curious choice.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it was pretty clear that Jabari wanted to go pro, and his dad was really, really pushing him to go pro, and this was the exact scenario that we would expect that they would have backed that off of that. Like everything played out so poorly that you'd be like, well, this is when you realize that this is probably not the best move. Because it even started with the draft feedback that he got March. I think in March those come out. And that wasn't good. And so that was kind of the start where you're like, okay, things aren't great here. And then to go through this process and still wind up with him going, again, like knowing how hard that they were pushing to go, maybe not surprised, but probably not the best decision, especially because he would have been a top 3 in the odds for offense or for player of the year in the Pac-12 this year if he came back.
Right, he could have come back. It's not like he was coming back to nothing. The opportunity was there to build.
And just to stick there, like say he does come back for a year. Like right now, if he goes, he's going to be like, late second to undrafted.
Just going to ask.
There's not you can't go worse than that right now. Like all you could do is just build your stock on that. And also now at least the NBA knows these measurables that you already have. They're going to go off of, this guy's 6'6" now. Now we have to look at him in a different way. Now they know who you are. Like the writing's on the wall. It's like, okay, can he do this at 6'6"? Can he do that with a 6'9" wingspan instead of the 6'9", 7 foot that we expected? He's still putting up these big numbers for another year. Now he gets better as a shooter because right now it's like a mixed bag. They seen him as a great shooter. They seen him as a not so good shooter. So now this year maybe like levels it. So he's like, okay, he's a 38% shooter for his career. At least it's 3 different years. Like in that first year, he didn't get to play much.
Right.
He didn't grow in the same type of ways. And then you get supplanted into being the guy. that's just a hard
Totally.
for anyone like that.
Transition,
And then
yeah.
also the evaluation for that is very like hard as well. And then the numbers don't back it at a combine. So things are like, it's not that he's not looking well for him. It's just not what was expected. So now you have to prove it in a different way. And that's why I feel like if he goes for another year, and it doesn't even have to be at CU, it just has to be somewhere
Totally.
where he can prove himself. But why not go where you're already a first team all Pac-12 guy?
They're going to give you the
that
rock
already proves
anyway.
himself.
Yeah.
The team is built around you.
Right.
Yeah. And so, again, it just comes back to him being raw. And with this process, you just throw in the quirks of, you are a tweener. And so that pushes down the odds that you pan out.
Right.
And so we always knew he was raw, but your options at this point, not anymore. You can't go back to school, but to go back to school.
The deadline was today?
Yeah, it was. And I think he signed with an agent who wasn't certified
right.
by the NCAA.
Yeah.
So
He
you
still has that chance, like that opportunity to, like, all right, I'm going to take it back, right?
I don't think so. I think with that agency he
Today?
can't.
Once you sign
Yeah.
with an agent, you...
So there's certified agents. So those are ones they're certified by the NCAA, whatever. You have to spend like a day in a class or something.
Sure.
Yeah. And so if you sign with one of them, you can back out, pay back all the money that you were advanced by June 1st and you're good to go. With the non-certified agent, you're stuck.
Oh,
Locked
okay.
in.
Yeah.
So he took the locked in
Yeah.
approach.
Man, that's
And it's a 1-year suspension, so you can't. It's not worth it. But yeah, I mean, now he goes to the G League. I think regardless of whether he surprises people, winds up in the back of the first round, whether he falls out of the draft, he'll be in the G League in some capacity next year. And for his development, I think the big question is, does he accept a role there and try to play the way that he would have to play to get into the NBA, prove that he can do that? Or does he have the same kind of, I don't want to say his pure hero ball mentality, but he was a bit of a ball stopper.
Sure.
He did want to be the one taking shots. He did see it as his team. And I think that could be dangerous if he doesn't have somebody pushing him to say, okay, remember that you're going to get to the next level by playing defense. So that's where we start here, by rebounding. And he'll have he's never had trouble hustling for rebounds, anything like that. But understanding his offensive role, making quick passes, not always looking to score every time he touches the ball. If he can do all those things, that you could see how he could go in the right direction and figure out how to be a great rebounding three who can come over and block some shots if the matchups are right and knock down some threes. If he does kind of keep the hero ball stuff going, then that's kind of the big question. Does he figure out how to fit into a role?
Real quick, second round safe guess? Is that the safe? Do you think he slides all the way out?
I'd say 50-50 right now.
Okay.
Yeah, just going through the mock drafts, that's what they say. I think Bleacher Report had him going like 43 or something. Most of them don't have him being drafted. They have him around like prospect 70 or so.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see. There's a chance. Having 58 picks this year is not a good situation for him, though.
I think that with him choosing the agent that he chose, there has to be a team or two that are saying, we're going to get
You
you.
would think.
Yeah.
So I think that it has to be second round, but like how late, and then also how much are you willing to work to be that type of guy? You're not going to be the best player on your team ever again, actually.
Right.
So even if you go to the G League, you're going to have to go and show these strengths that you have, but you're never going to be the go-to guy again, at any level. So now you have to accept that and also show that you're willing to work on these type of things. Like he goes from the guy to now being a role player once again. And also now you have to star in that role. So he's on some rough waters right now.
Yep.
It'll be interesting to see. I talked about this with Justin Michael yesterday on the Rams pod with David Roddy, but probably not in this market. Definitely not for these guys. But will we get to a point where NIL deals are juicy enough that more and more guys just go, listen, I could use the development time anyway. They're going to pay me here. I don't need to go to the G League.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody at CU yesterday, basically when all this kind of became pretty certain that he was leaving.
Sure.
And they said, again, like, not really sure why this is the path he chose, especially when he could probably make $100,000 in NIL deals. And I was surprised that he chose a number that high, but more plugged in than I am. I guess it's
I'm
out there.
sure the
And
money is.
it's somewhere,
Yeah.
especially if you're one of the best players in the Pac-12.
We'll talk a little bit more. We'll put a bow on Walker. DeShawn Schwartz, former Buff, worked out with the Nuggets. Get a rundown on him. But first, our friends at Breckenridge Brewery want you to know about their Score 2 for a brew deal with the Avalanche Amber Ale, the classic. I don't know if this is true. I call it the OG Breck Brew. Is that true, Kale? Do we know?
Sounds right.
It seems like it. It's
Sounds
like the
right.
first one I ever remember seeing.
Yeah.
You know, I drank those before I had any connection to this state. I know that.
I believe it.
But here's the deal. The only thing that's better than the Avs scoring 2 goals in the first period is a free beer with those 2 goals. And Breck Brew understands that, and they want to make your Avalanche Amber Ale free. On game days, you start your Avs game with an Avalanche Amber Ale at any bar or restaurant, and then save that receipt. If the Avs score 2 or more goals in the first period, Breck Brew will pay for your beer via rebate. Just upload your receipt on breckbrew.com.
Wow.
Yeah, how cool is that? How neat is that? Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR and Seltzer, and their food's good. They're just homies. Check them out. We love our friends here at DNVR. And it's Wednesday, so just one ad read on the second break, fellas, and we're back already. Gonna put a little bow here on Walker before we get out of here. What do you guys know about him that isn't on the scouting reports, having watched him? Because I feel from the NBA side of this, and Dev, I'm sure you can relate, a lot of these guys, I'm watching videos on YouTube. I'm reading about the strengths and weaknesses. I'm looking up stats. But when you cover a team all season, you cover a player all season, you have context. How did they respond to challenges? What do you know about their personal life or the context of the team that led to them underperforming? You guys get the idea. What do you know about Walker that someone who's only looking at the measurables and such wouldn't know?
I mean, we'll start with the least important one. And that's that he's kind of like just a fun guy to talk with. Like I did enjoy covering him. You know, I remember the first time I talked to him this season, I said like, yeah, so, you know, last year as a freshman, all your classes are online. Now you're on campus. Like, how's that going? He's like, it's crazy. Everywhere I go, people are looking at me. It's like, bro, you're 6'8" with hair sticking straight up out of your head. Yeah, I bet you catch people's eyes out there, don't you? But so I did enjoy talking with him. He is a smart guy. Obviously, the basketball background, there's that really helpful. And that is something that I think I'm maybe was a freshman last year, had an injury, redshirted, but his dad is. I do think that works well. And then also just the rebounding. Like, it's easy to look at the numbers and say like, yeah, he's a good rebounder. He's a freak rebounder. You know, he had 2 games where he didn't score 10 points or more this season. And the reason, I think, is because he's good for 2 putbacks, 3 putbacks a game. And that gets you halfway there. And so I do think that we shouldn't look at the rebounding as like a thing he does well. It's an elite trait. Now, does he get bodied up by power forwards and it kind of gets neutralized? Do you wind up playing him at the 3 so he's able to kind of leak in and make those plays? What does that look like? You wonder, but you do know that he can do that at a high level.
Dev, should the Nuggets buy into the second round, is there any fit here at all, do you see?
I say yes and no. I do say that, you know, I mean, it always makes sense to like have a guy around that is like close to the state. I just feel like you have to say those type of things. But also what the Nuggets need is a small forward, you know, that can play those type of minutes. Is this guy, you know, is Jabari a small forward? No, he's a forward, you know, that his body is now showing that he's a forward, and now it's starting to make a little bit more sense. They also need like a workhorse type of forward that could be a tweener that could do a little bit of both. So like, yes, they do need that, you know, small forward, but also he's just going to do the exact same things that Zeke Naji does. And you want a lot more of Zeke Naji this year. I fully expect them to see a lot more Zeke Naji. So now you're having a replacement for a replacement, you know, that just makes
it's just a redundant forward.
Yeah, it makes it a lot, you know, more difficult. But I do think that he is going to be a second rounder. I do. With the Nuggets, I don't think so.
That's fair. He does fit that mold that I swear every team is looking for more of. We're just these long wings who can defend, who can rebound. And it's like you just wind up with a hole there, it feels like, on half these teams. And if things work out for him, which I think there's a good chance they do, it's just that you're probably on 2-year in the G League timeline. If things work out, then yeah, he could be a very valuable piece. a better Torrey Craig or something like that is probably what you're looking for. That's a bad comp.
Well,
There's a piece there.
there's something to
There's
it.
a piece there.
All right, Henry, I understand that last year DeShawn Schwartz transferred from Colorado to George Mason. Is that right?
Yep.
And he is a draft hopeful himself who has worked out for the Nuggets. What can you tell us about Schwartz?
So he's an interesting player. Again, so he's part of that big recruiting class they had with Tyler Bay and McKinley Wright and Evan Batty and Dallas Walton. Like they set the tone for that program. He's one of the 3,000-point scorers at CU that came out of that class. Just a very productive player. Not like quick twitch, kind of explosive type. Like you feel like that's more where the game is going. Those skinny guys who have bounce and are quick and all those sorts of things. He's more of like the YMCA, like big 2-guard. And I'm curious, first of all, just what his size is. I think he's listed right now at 6'7", 230 from George Mason. I wouldn't be surprised if that's more like 6'5", whatever, 220, something like that. But if he can score in the paint, kind of be a post-up guard. Jamal Murray's really good at that sort of stuff.
Sure.
Like if he does have that sort of thing that translates to the next level, that's, I think, the path for him. Good defender, doesn't have the traits to be a freaky defender. You're never going to get probably plus defense out of him, but he can hold his own against a 2.
He's big at least.
Exactly.
Which makes a difference.
Exactly.
A huge difference, actually.
And then the 3-point shooting. If you can shoot the 3, then there's going to be a spot for you somewhere. And I think he's pretty close to a 40% career 3-point shooter. The play of his lifetime was probably the overtime buzzer beater against Dayton from the corner. Mm-hmm. So he's a very well-rounded prospect. Has some good scoring capacity. He's crafty. Just doesn't have the freaky physical traits. Feels like somebody who it's worth bringing in, though, just to see what he provides.
Yeah, I started covering high school basketball in 2016, which was Kobe Ross's senior year of high school. And then Schwartz came out 2017, so like the year like right after. And the crazy thing that stood out is there's a guy that scored 50 points in a game. So I had to go see him. How big he is now is how big he was in high school. In Colorado, athletes in high school were not that big.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So he's doing whatever he wanted to do on the basketball court. And also, this was like a four-star recruit, and Colorado hadn't seen that, especially from Colorado Springs since Reggie Jackson. So, this is like the pride of Colorado Springs. Comes from a good family, hard worker, and he was also just like a dominant player. He wants to destroy every single time out.
Love that.
Especially when you go for 50 points. Goes up to CU and has a really good career. And also it's just like a under the radar type of career where it's just steady the entire time. Then they have the young guys come in and they all make the decision to go over to George Mason, and he plays pretty well. And that was with it was the coach that went over there with them, Kim
English, yep.
Yeah, Kim English went over with them. So he just followed that whole train of the Colorado guys going over there, and he played it pretty well for George Mason.
15.5 points, 4.5 rebounds. Those are his season stats, not just George
which
Mason.
is really
is
really efficient, and it's really balanced. At the next level, he's going to be a 2-guard. That's when it becomes difficult for him. I really do think that for sure he's going to be a player that plays professional. He fits that mold, and he's also going to make a lot of money playing basketball. That just makes sense. NBA, I know that this was a dream come true for him, just to have a workout with the hometown team.
Right.
Especially being a Colorado guy, not just playing for Colorado, but he's from the Springs, playing for the Nuggets and those type of things. I don't see a world in which he can play for them, but also Denver does right by their guys of staying. He's going to play in the summer league. I do think he's going to get picked up to actually have a chance to take a look at a team, or at least to just play. But yeah, this is a guy that Colorado fans loved, just because he was with that group, a really strong group that brought dominance, or just brought the fan base back to Colorado when you root for those type of guys.
And the Nuggets do always seem to work those types out, you
Yeah.
know, at the very least. So let's say he's a legit 6'7". I don't know if he is. Let's say he is. Is there any world in which he's a wing, or is it just big guard all the way?
I would say big guard. But, I mean, he might have some versatility. Like, in a small ball lineup, you could check it out. But, yeah, I mean, you want him as a shooting guard. Like, he plays that position kind of prototypically.
Yeah.
And so I don't know that you would push him out.
Okay. What do you think?
Same thing. I think that he's like a big guard that can defend, you know, multiple positions. And you also get, that's what separates him. You can put him on a wing. He's going to be strong enough to actually battle with them. He's going to make them work hard. He's a workhorse type of player that you don't have to convince him that he's a 3-and-D guy. Like, he's been that. He knows he's that. And he also is able to adapt. So, like, he fits a different mode of he hasn't been the guy.
Right.
This is who he's been, so it's going to be able to
grinding for the role player.
Yeah,
thing.
to just put that in there. Like, you
Yeah.
don't have to coach him into those type of things that he's always been.
With the caveat being that he gets to spend the 1 year at George Mason where he is the guy.
Sure.
And so he's had all this experience playing the exact role that he would play at the next level. Like, literally the exact same role. And then you also give him a chance to be like, okay, go do you,
Explore
grow.
your game a little
exactly,
bit. Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's exciting. This is a deep cut. Tyler Hall played at Montana State, crazy good there. He, I think he might have got drafted by the Knicks. He spent a little bit of time with them, mostly in the G League. Basically the exact same player. So if there's anybody out there who that reference is helpful for,
There
I
you
got
go.
you. I got you.
The two people that are nodding their heads
Yeah.
vigorously.
Oh, Tyler Hall. Yeah.
That was for you. Well, listen, love to get the Walker rundown again. Not likely a Nugget, but he's a buff. And we cover not just the Nuggets, but we cover CO here at DNVR. Thanks in large part to Henry Chisholm, who covers CU. Henry, plug your stuff. Plug your social.
Oh, at Henry Chisholm. As you probably learned from Brendan, there's an H in that last name.
There is.
Two actually. There's an L in that last name. CHISHOLM.
Chisholm.
As you would say, yeah.
And DNVR_buffs as well.
Yes.
What
and the podcast.
What's your beat look like these days?
Oh, so we just started a new project today where I'm rewatching every football game from last season. Starts with Northern Colorado. Big ol' win.
Oh, man.
But it's going to get dark here soon. But yeah, just like I've got a little format.
Scary hours.
It's, yeah, bright point of my life. But yeah, I mean, 3 stars from every game. Like, spotlight on this thing happened, spotlight on that. What you watch going forward after seeing that game. So yeah, it's going to be like every other day or so. 1,200 words on each of those games if anybody wants to.
No rest for the wicked, no rest for the kid over here. So we appreciate you taking the time out to hang out with us, man, giving us the rundown. Dev, always a pleasure to see you back in the building, my friend.
I'm excited to be here. I need more of this.
The people need more Dev, that's for sure. Again, draft coverage ramping up here. We are going to have Mile High Sports is Ryan Blackburn in the studio
right.
tomorrow. Subject to change if the presser comes up. Obviously, that takes priority. We'll keep the draft coverage rolling. Thanks Henry. Thanks, Dev. Thanks, chat. Everyone have a great day. Have a blessed day.